Hey friends, welcome to Living the KG Life, a pixie dust filled podcast. On today's episode, we have Kristen, who is going to welcome us home and talk to us all about how she gets the most out of her Disney Vacation Club membership. So stick around, it's going to be great. All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you're here. And today we're going to be talking all about the Disney Vacation Club, which I am a brand new member of. So this is going to be such an awesome episode for me selfishly, but also for all of the people that have messaged me being like, what the heck is this DVC thing that you're so excited about? Tell me everything. And I feel like you're a pro and you'll be able to give us all of the tips. So thank you for being here. But before we jump into all the DVC goodness, give everyone kind of a quick intro and tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, hi. Well, thank you. So I'm Kristen, and I started an Instagram account with Trippin at Disney is my handle, and I love Disney. So I live in the Carolinas. I'm a registered nurse. I'm married and I have 3 kids and been married about 24 years.
Amazing.
24 years, somewhere around there. I got to do the math. Wait, year. We're going into 2022, so that's almost 24 years. But yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. So you said you live down in the Carolinas, so you're not super close to Disney, but you are a lot closer than I am. So tell us kind of your earliest memory with Disney, your history with Disney, or what made you fall in love with Disney?
So my first opportunity was Disney. I was invited with a friend when I was in high school, and I got invited to go with her and her family. So that was like my first scenic moment with Disney to experience it. I was in 9th grade. And then the next time I got to go was with Mike, my husband, and our daughter Julia when she was 5. It was right in the middle of nursing school. It was right after finals, and we went for Christmas, like right after finals. So it was like a week before Christmas, right when the breaks were. So it was like we had a little bit of downtime as far as crowd, and then we saw the crowd transition into the holiday time. So, and I mean, to have our first experience in the winter holiday, we had the Minnie Mouse bow Santa hat,
Yes.
hot chocolate on Main Street. Like, these are the things that I just remember so vividly. Temperatures were beautiful. It was so nice. And we just knew that was going to be part of our lifestyle. We just had such a good time and couldn't wait to do it again. So not long after that, the following year when I graduated nursing school, we went on a Disney cruise. A little bit after that, yes. Went on a Disney cruise in January, and that's when we became DVC members.
Oh, so you did DVC while you were on the cruise.
Mm-hmm.
See, I've heard lots of stories of people going on a Disney cruise and then coming back DVC members. So
yep, that's how it was for us.
When we get into the DVC section, I definitely want to talk about how do they do that? Because it seems like they must have a pretty good conversion rate there.
Yeah, amazing. Didn't see that coming. So, but yeah, so yeah, that was it just kind of snowed into that, just one moment after another, one memory after another, one vacation, and just kind of kept looking towards that next one and that next one. And just, there was always something to do. And I remember when it was our first one with me, Mike, and Julia, we made one dining reservation, a sit down character meal. And it was at Animal Kingdom when it used to be Donald's Breakfastaurus. And I remember I thought that was such a big deal. We stayed at All-Star Movies with Dalmatians and such. And there was so much to do, and I had no idea how much there was, but that still felt so wonderful and so glorious. And then once I learned of how much more, once we got back, I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go back. There's more to do. So.
And I feel like no matter how often or how long you've been going, there's always more to do. There's still a very long list of things that I have not done, places I have not eaten, places I haven't stayed. The list, it feels like it's forever growing.
Yes. And they keep expanding. And it goes back to Walt's, one of his quotes, it will never finish. There will always be more. So there'll always be more to do and more to explore. As long as there's imagination, we will continue to grow. And I want to keep seeing the growth, and I want to keep seeing what's new and experience it all. So it's easy to want to go back.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you've been going since your oldest daughter was fairly young, and you've continued to go. would you think, or I guess probably better to phrase it as like, what's a tip that you have or that you guys kind of like live by when you go on your family vacations?
As far as a logistic or family vibes, family.
Ooh, that's a great clarification. Either one. I guess kind of let's do like both. What's a logistical tip of like how you like to do your vacations, and then I guess what's the vibe of your vacations when you go? Because one of the things that I love in following your vacations is you do all kinds of vacations. Like you go by yourself, you go with your girlfriends, you go with you and Mike, you go with the girls, you do like mixes of trips with all the girls, some of the girls, one of the girls. Like you do all of the trips in one. So talk about that, kind of like maybe the vibes of the trips, and then logistically, like, how do you make all of that happen?
With DVC logistically, it's definitely, a matter of kind of mastering the points and kind of knowing when to go, especially when you have school age children and you're trying to follow the school calendar. But a logistical vibe has always been, we've tried to do the Sunday to Thursday. A lot of our vacations, though, have been at Disney's Hilton Head Island. So we'd split our points between Disney's Hilton Head Island, and we would go in September, or we would be in Disney for spring. So that's how we would split our points in the beginning, was between those two. And we really tried to make sure we only overlapped one weekend, because Friday and Saturday are the most points. So logistically, as far as for a DVC family, that's what we would try to do to extend our stays. And just kind of ask everybody what they want to be, what they want to do, what's their goal, what's their favorite, what do they want to eat. I try to really empower everybody with what they want to do and give everybody a voice as far as because it's their vacation too.
Yeah.
So, and just allow time for cushion, room for error, if you will, room for fatigue, room for having a moment where you're like, I just want to change the plans up a little bit. Just kind of having that room so it's not stressful.
Hmm. I love that. And that's something that I feel like, honestly, I have not personally done until the last few years of like really being a little bit more flexible and like gracious with myself, that you don't have to go ham, because that's usually how I've always been, like open to close at the parks all day. And the last, I would say, like I said, couple trips, I've been like, oh, this is actually kind of nice to just like cruise around and not really feel like I've got to run from this reservation to that reservation. And it almost feels a little bit less, I don't know, I almost like feel like less overwhelmed, I feel like, by all of the things, where you can just kind of like take in the atmosphere and chill out a little bit.
It's so true. And when you go in with that kind of outlook, and we did go ham for a few years when the girls were little, and we would split our trips between Hilton Head and Disney World. When we would go for 8-9 days, we'd go ham, but we'd always allow a resort break, and being like to go back to the room. We'd all take a nap. We'd shut the curtains. We would sleep for a few hours and go back. And when magic hours were like, it was every Wednesday night, Magic Kingdom would be open till 2 a.m.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we would rope drop
Imagine.
Magic Kingdom every Wednesday. That was our thing. Wednesdays is Magic Kingdom open to close. And we wouldn't get back to our room till about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. It was great.
Oh my
And our
gosh.
girls, they felt like they were on top of the world running through Fantasyland. And we were the last stroller to get pushed out by the carousel. We're like, we go to the carousel, where's our stroller? And there it was, the only one left.
The only one left.
It was good times. We'd watch the electric parade at night. We'd catch the second parade, and then we'd go hit the rides in the back. So we did go ham a few years, but we allowed that time back at the room for everybody to nap. So everybody was rested, because it can be exhausting, but there's so many ways to do it to where you can enjoy it and not feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I love that you said too that you try to empower everybody and include everybody in the planning of like, what does everybody want to do? How do you want to prioritize? What do we all want to get done together? Because I think that also makes it more fun. It doesn't have to feel like, nope, we're only doing this person's itinerary or the same thing every time or something different. You kind of include a little bit of everything. That must be a nice mix.
Right. Because you don't want to be so stringent. And it's funny because that first trip that I was invited on with a friend, her father, I remember these things. It's interesting. Her father was very much this itinerary. There was no swing off of that itinerary, and it was just directive. It was a very directive vacation. No swing off of that path at all, no matter what. And that stuck with me. So I just think it's really important to allow that room, especially, and it's hard because a lot of people, like when they go to Disney, it's all about like, okay, well, it costs this much money, and time is money, but time is money. So
Mhm.
money is time. So how do you, balance that for yourself so you can walk away knowing that our time was peaceful in how we invested in it?
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you feel similarly, but I have some friends that are like, when we go, they're like, KG, you take it, you just book it and tell us where to go. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, that feels like so much pressure. And I get really stressed. I'm like, okay, what have you done before? What haven't you done before? What would you like to do? What are you excited about? And then I get wrapped in this kind of like, I need to make this trip really great for everyone. How do you do that with your family? Because especially you go often, but like if everyone's giving you ideas, how do you make sure you include everything to make sure that everybody feels good and excited about the plans that you've made?
Well, we kind of look at things objectively too, like what makes sense. Like
Mm,
if we're going to do this, let's look at what the next 24 hours are going to be like after that. And if we go here, we need to look at this. We look at weather. And so when I try to bring scenarios up to the girls, they can see how it works and how it flows
mhm.
and what would make sense. But I have a more specific one that relates more to planning. February 2020, right before, you know what? I planned, or you could say I kind of like spearheaded a Run Disney Princess trip with some coworkers. And I think there was 13 of us total
Oh my gosh, that's a
that
big
went,
group.
that went down. Yes, we registered like the year prior in June when registration opened for Run Disney Princess. And I talked a bunch of girls into going down and having an experience of a lifetime and running the half marathon. So
Souls.
um, sold, yes. So there was about 13 of us, 9 of us went running, and there was what we called like a cheer squad. There was the cheer squad group. They didn't join the actual Run Disney cheer squad, but they made their own banners and such. But
Oh my gosh,
it
I
was
love
a
it.
matter of, booking the rooms, like where do we all want to stay? What's going to work? How many people can be in the room? And then once we got all of that situated, it was like, okay, what is everybody? We had a big group text, and what is everybody's number one thing? I want everybody to tell me their one thing in our 5 days there that they want out of this trip.
Mhm.
One person said character dinner. One person said, I want to ride this. So it was like just kind of, and boom, we made it all happen. And it was great. And we ended our trip with a character dinner. We went to our character breakfast, actually went to Topolino's the morning we went home.
Ugh,
And it was great. So it was a lot of fun. And everybody was so great, which makes it easy because group travel can be very tricky,
yep.
especially with a lot of personalities, but everybody was just so happy to go, and just, they're like, you lead the way. And I think it's both. It's like you give them what they want, but at the same time you guide them on what's realistic,
Mhm.
but help give them the magic that they're looking for, and incorporate everybody with that. And it's just, yeah, that was a real magical trip. With like, we'll have that forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great opportunity too with coworkers that like you might not have a vacation or like time to be able to do that with other coworkers. So that's a fantastic
Yeah.
memory that you'll all have.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Some bucket lists happened, some life goals, some once in a lifetime moments happened that trip. So it was very, very special.
Amazing. Now, one of the things that I love to follow along on your Instagram is you, for everyone that's listening that has not followed you yet, but will after this episode, you, I feel like, are the queen of surprise trips. So I need to hear all about how, after all these years, you're able to surprise your girls, whether it's where you're staying or what you're doing or when you're going. How do you make that happen? Because I feel like that's something a lot of parents want to be able to do is to surprise their friends or family members or their kids with a trip. So how do you keep it a surprise, but stay excited and plan all at the same time?
It's a great question. So a lot of it is just being stone cold and acting like nothing is happening.
Which is the
Um,
complete opposite of you as a person. Stone cold. You are not.
and just not giving any information and actually just moving on with life as if nothing is happening. And so, and I understand, like, you have to know your family,
Yep.
know your surroundings, know your environment, know the personalities that you're working with to see if it can work. And if you have some of those sensitive family members, knowing how to work with that. But I think for my girls, my philosophy is there's just never enough surprises in life. Now, not everybody likes surprises. I don't know. I have never really experienced surprises, so I love to give them.
Yep.
And I love to share them, and I love to coordinate ways to surprise people. And I don't know, I love it. I love catching them off guard. And So I just don't tell them anything. I mean, and sometimes it's hard. It is really, and I'm like, oh, the stress starts really rising when I'm really trying to catch them when we're that close, but the payoff is so good. It's so good. So I just don't say anything. I'm very careful. My other half, my partner, Mike, my hubby, he is not that great. He slips at times, I somehow am able to roll it off and just keep on moving. I'm just giving him the wide eyes, like, oh my gosh. But I don't know. I just really just don't say anything and completely throw them off. Just don't talk about it. And it really, it blows their mind because I, I make it like life is really just happening as the norm. And then all of a sudden we're on an airplane.
Yep.
So,
And so when you plan those trips, do you try to think about, what they had a great time with last time or things like, they're into so you can kind of sprinkle in, like you said, those things that'll personalize a trip and make it fun for them, but still a surprise until you walk in?
yes, yes. Well, depending on the goals of the trip, like we've done like a weekend just to experience Festival of the Arts. We've done a
Mhm.
weekend just to experience Flower and Garden. We've done so many different styles where I've taken the girls. I've taken Jamie by herself. I still owe Jessie a mother-daughter trip. But what was nice about that one is the girls had always wanted their own mother-daughter trip. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you guys are gonna have to flip a coin. I'm not picking who goes first.
Yeah.
So they had to figure that one out. And what was nice is once they did, I incorporated the other one to help me. So it made it
Oh, that's
exciting.
so smart.
So she could be happy for her. And there wasn't that like whole feeling of like, I wish I was going. She was part of the surprise. So I think that's the thing too. You just got to have your kids be inclusive or whoever you can be inclusive. But a lot of times it's me running the chaos, but it's so good. I do love the surprises. I'm trying to think of as far as specifically, like when I just know that I'm going to do it, I say, I do not say a word about it. I plan everything from behind the scenes to literally, I remember one time with Julia, like when she was in third grade, this was like I think this might've been our second mother-daughter trip. I was pregnant with Jessie and I had her thinking she was going to the doctors that afternoon, maybe I think to get like like her age vaccine or something like that. I can't remember. But poor thing, I ended up stressing her out because she really thought we were going and picked her up from school. And we just drove to the airport. And I pulled out the suitcase. I was like, just kidding. And she was like, what? I'm like, come on. The next thing you knew, we were in Disney World. It was great. It was so much fun.
What a great turnaround, thinking that you're going to the doctors, you're going to get a shot, and you're actually on your way to Disney World instead.
Yeah. So that was, I think, one of the first times I threw a surprise like that when she was with Julia. And so, yeah, then with the little girls, it's great when it just seeing their faces, how we do it. And again, I just try not to say anything. And I think also kids are here and now. As they get older, they become more abstract. But I think if you give them all the details and you tell them everything all the time, like it's great to get them excited. And it's great to talk about things, but I love to leave elements of surprise because it just keeps you going. It keeps the mystery alive. So if you talk about every element of the trip, what if something of that element of the trip didn't happen? Like I'm also one of
Sure.
the, like, they don't know what they are missing if they don't know that there's something to miss. So
Absolutely.
like I don't say everything there's an opportunity to do. Like there's this. I try not to list it all out because if it doesn't happen, then there's disappointment. I don't know why, but it's like we're wired to focus on what we missed as opposed to what we gained. So you
Absolutely.
are intentionally looking for the good. So I don't really put much out there, and then I feel like it's all a gain, if that makes sense. Whatever we do is great because we don't know any
Absolutely.
different.
Absolutely. And I think especially with a place like Disney World where everything, I feel like we talk about this a lot, especially on the podcast, but everything is magical. Every time you turn around, something magic can happen and is probably served up on a platter to happen. But what you were saying earlier, if you're not flexible or like able to kind of flex and move with what could happen, you might miss it. So if you're leaving those opportunities to be flexible and kind of change your plans, you might actually run into something even more magical than what you would have, planned fast passes and reservations. And you might have had, you might have missed a cavalcade or a parade or a short wait line. Like there's so much that you might miss if everything's like almost too scheduled and too planned.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then it's just when the surprises come, like I've had them where they've gotten off the bus and their bags are packed right by the door and they're like, what's happening? I'm like, let's go. And we get in the car and we're on our way.
Yeah.
And then the whole way they're like, okay, well, where are we going? Where are we staying? How many nights? Which parks are we going to? And like the energy on the car ride, on our 9-hour car ride, is so high because they haven't talked about it for months and months and months. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that pre-planning, but it's different. It's just a different approach. So yeah.
I love it. The one that sticks out to me is I think you recently did a trip to Animal Kingdom and they didn't know that you had a Savannah view.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually just booked my first, and this can be a good segue into our DVC stuff, but I just booked my first DVC stay and I'm so excited.
Welcome home.
Yes. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna cry when I first walk in and they say welcome home, but that's a whole nother topic. And I booked for the springtime surprise week. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down and I'll work for a couple days down there. And my brother was like helping me play around with the schedule. And so I got a Savannah view for the first couple days. I was like, that's going to be awesome. I can sit and I can work and I can have these animals outside. And all I could think about was like, I am probably going to be as excited as your girls were walking in and seeing the Savannah view for the first time. Because I've never even been there. So I was like, that is going to be like my level of excitement. But part of that was like seeing how excited your whole family was, like opening the curtains and like going out to the balcony of like, this is where you get to stay. This is where you get to be for the next few days. You can't beat that kind of excitement.
You really can't. And again, it's what makes Disney so amazing because there's so many worlds you can be immersed in. So, and part of my DVC is I've always been so frugal with my points with our views. I'm like, we don't need the view. I'd rather have more time in Disney than use those points for views. So as we were getting older, our family's getting older, just different things. I'm like, you know what we're going to do at this time? We're going to do Savannah View. We're going to treat them this time. Not that we're not treating them, but you know what I mean? We're going to take it to that next level. So I just didn't say anything. I didn't even say where we were staying each resort. Like I kept that element, like they knew we were going. And so they did not expect that because they know how I am.
Yeah.
We're usually looking at a parking lot or maybe a garden view if the parking lot's not available, just so we have more time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when they opened that curtain, it was great. It
Oh my
was
gosh,
so
I can't
great.
wait.
It definitely was worth it. I mean, my eyes welled a little bit. Mike was fired up. I think he ran over the coffee table, jumped and leaped and looked down. He's like, what? I mean, he kind of knew but some boys are compartmentalized. You got to just kind of tell them as needed basis. So they kind of stay, they got so much happening up here. So, I think he knew, but I think he might have slipped because he was just kind of in each moment. And then it was like, oh my gosh, we did get this interview. And so it was really, really exciting. And it was even nicer is that once we get back to the room, the first thing they do is head to the balcony. And even late at night, if they couldn't really see, they could still hear and they felt like they were watching.
Yeah.
That was a whole experience in itself. Like those moments on the balcony at night was magical. First thing they're getting up all groggy eyed, hair's out of control, but they're on that porch and they're looking and it just was great.
Oh, I love it. So since we're kind of already in the topic, let's talk all about Disney Vacation Club. Like I said before, you are to me one of the pros of DVC. I know when we actually first met in Disney, I was like, tell me everything. I'm really excited. I've been really looking into it. And one of the biggest things that you said was do your research, do the math, make sure it makes sense. And I feel like what I really appreciate about a lot of DVC members is that everybody has said that. They're like, it's worth it if it works for you or your family. Really do the work and make sure that it does. So what was it about DVC that made you feel good enough to take the leap?
So when they pitch it to you, they pitch, of course, this is the resort you're going to stay in. This is the kind of vacations. And then when they first pitched it, because we own it a few places. When we first were pitched to it by Saratoga Springs, it was like, listen, you could have this many vacations for this amount of money. And if you're already traveling this many times a year to Disney, it's going to pay for itself. So that's when Mike and I started doing the math. We're like, okay, we can stay in these kind of resorts. We can have this kind of timeshare, but it's not your typical timeshare, even though it's considered a timeshare. It's not your typical one where most of them, from what we knew at the time, seemed a little bit just kind of like the same routine of 2 weeks per year. You exchange them with other folks those 2 weeks, and they were usually 1 or 2 bedrooms. We were very intrigued by the different options in room sizes, the different options in lengths of stay, times of year, and how the points never changed. Ever, ever, ever. They don't change. Mm-hmm. They shift, but they don't change. So that was very intriguing for us as far as knowing, like, you know what, if this is going to be our lifestyle, this might be something we definitely want to do.
I love
So
it.
that's kind of new.
And so from your experience, 'cause you've been DVC members for a while now. So if someone else came up to you and said, Kristen, I'm really thinking about Disney Vacation Club. I've done the math. I think that it's the right thing for me. What would be some of the top either tips that you'd have for them or top things that they really need to think about before they officially make their purchase?
I would ask them if they're sure that they're going to get the lifestyle. This is something they're definitely going to use because it is quite the investment for 50 years, whether you pay up front or you do financing. Either way, you're paying something. You have your annual dues. Is this something you really want to be part of your life over the next 50 years? And how do you want to make it over? Like, how do you want to use your points over the next 50 years? And top tip is read all of the fine print, read everything, and just know that if you literally are only going to Disney just to use the Disney Vacation Club villas once a year with whatever points that you have, it's going to be easy breezy for you. But if you were intrigued by RCI and the World Collection and Adventures by Disney and Disney Cruise Line and the resorts that are not the vacation, make sure you do all of the reading with that. Just because there's just so many rules that people aren't aware of. And if you like all of those things and you still want to be a member and it still works for you, then by all means, it's for you.
I love it. So give everyone kind of the, maybe not as short as an elevator pitch, but kind of the spiel of like, what is DVC? How does it work? What does the membership kind of consist of?
So Disney Vacation Club is a timeshare. Essentially, you get a deed to property, and each new resort is built with a 50-year deed property. So from the time that it's built, it starts going down, and you have 50 years to use it. So if you come into it like Old Key West was 1991 or 93, if you were to buy Old Key West now, there's only about maybe 20 years left into Old Key West before that's over. Points are going to be cheaper, but basically you have a 50 years and it's valued at price dollar per point. So, and that changes through the years. So the newer the resorts, the more expensive it's going to be. So it's going to be a higher dollar point value. But you get 50 years for however many points that you purchase, that you invest in your bank. And each year you get those points deposited in your bank. You may borrow for a year. You may bank for a year, but there's no more than a 3-year window, basically. So say you have a 200 point standard contract, you can basically have up to 600 points in a year for if you want to have that bigger vacation. And basically you have your choices between, you have a studio room that's offered, you have a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and some resorts offer the 3-bedroom grand villa. And then Saratoga Springs has a treehouse, which is a lot of fun. So, and then you have your extenders like Grand Californian out in California. And then you have Disney's Hilton Head Island Resort as well, and Disney's Vero Beach. So a few outliers that also fall in the DVC villas within those rules, which is nice.
And if you think about, because you had mentioned earlier they're the deluxe villas, right? These are the nicer end resorts. That was one of the big selling points for me was when I go, I've usually stayed at like any of the All-Stars. I've just recently, since COVID, done Pop Century, Art of Animation. Other than that, I had never stayed anywhere else. We did one trip and stayed at Port Orleans, and actually one trip at Shades of Green. My brother was in the military at the time, so we stayed there, which was really nice. But other than that, we're always like, we're never really in the room. Let's just like go with the value resorts. It's great. But that was one of the things I was really intrigued by with DVCs. I was like, okay, so if I'm going to be spending X amount of money on a resort and I'm staying at an All-Star, but I could take almost that same money and invest it into DVC that's going to be there for a lot longer, and I can stay at the Boardwalk or I can stay at Grand Floridian. But I can stay at any of those villas and still have the same, you know, like this, like price-wise, they almost work out in my mind the same way. So you're still spending that money. It's not like it's free. You're still going to spend that money, but I'm staying in a deluxe versus a value. And I just did 2 of the last trips that I did. The people that I was with, it was their DVC, and we stayed at Boardwalk both times. And I was like, oh man, this is so nice. And it really is. It's just like a little bit extra that makes you feel like, ooh, it's like that feeling you're walking like, I could get used to this.
Mhm.
I think that's like the way that I would describe it. Like obviously, like I said, I love the All Stars. I feel like those will always have a special place in my heart. But like you walk in, you're like, oh, I could get used to this. This is like a
Those
little bit
resort
extra.
those lobbies, those scents, those welcome home scents, the
Oh,
welcome homes, they get you. And it just feels so good because they truly mean it. And they say it all over property, but nothing says it like a DVC. And the thing is, even if you stay at Boardwalk or Beach Club or any of those, they're still going to tell you welcome home, even if you're not a DVC member.
hmm
It's just that next level of customer service that you get with Disney for being a member, and kind of their way of saying thank you to being their member. They're going to treat you and going to give you that level. I mean, you're going to get great customer service across the board, but you can definitely tell the difference when you are at one to the other. Because I stay at Pop Century a lot
hmm
when I'm not using DVC points. But there's just something about when you go in those rooms and you're on those balconies, and when you're making your way through the lobbies, and the experiences, the immersion that you feel in the Disney Vacation Club villas.
Yeah, and I think they really do a great job at like that word home, right? So you have your home resort, and when you walk in, they say welcome home. Now, when your Magic Band scans, I think you were actually the one that was telling me this. You scan it and it says welcome home. Like they want you to feel like you belong there, you're a part of it, and it's something really special. And that's one of the things that I noticed that was a little bit different in staying at the boardwalk, is it felt more like a cozy home kind of hotel versus just like a standard hotel room.
Yep, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah, I think my Magic Band kind of goes ding dong when I
Yeah.
scan into parks as a welcome home.
Yep.
Um, and it's they do kind of welcome home as soon as you walk up to the resort lobby, and the guest relations welcome home. What can I do for you? Well, welcome back. What's your home resort? They want to have this conversation with you. Thanks for coming back. They're very much intrigued by who you are, and thank you for investing with them. They just
Mhm.
genuinely love talking with their guests.
And I think they know that people that are DVC members want to be there, want to be a part of it. So I'm sure that makes it a little bit more exciting too, because you know, to your point earlier, like if you're going to invest in this money, it's a part of your lifestyle. It's something that you want to continue to do for 50 years or a very long time.
Very long time, right? And it's such a gift.
Yeah.
It's such a great, I don't know. We just love DVC. Never had any regrets. We never will have any regrets. It's just such a gift, and we love it even more. And now that we have Riviera, like we're tickled because it's just so lovely.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, we were talking a lot about home stuff. So, give everyone a quick kind of overview. What is a home resort? How does that work? And why is your home resort important?
It is so important. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because when people ask me, should we do DVC, and become a member, one of the things I also tell them is look into the home resort that you're going to choose. So your home resort is where you buy your deed from, and that is where you have priority to stay in vacation. So you can book 11 months in advance with your home resort for your vacations. So out of all the Disney Vacation Club villas, the one that is yours, you can book 11 months in advance. The others that are not particularly your home resort, you can still book, but not until your 7-month window of travel. So that is the difference, the biggest difference, because on your family size can make a big difference on where you
Yeah.
choose the home resort. So our first home resort was Saratoga Springs, which at the time was fine. It was just me, Mike, and Julia, but their studios only sleep 4. So we became that family that at 7 months, we literally were on that computer or on that phone first thing when it would open up at 9 a.m. to get Wilderness Lodge or Boulder Ridge now, because the studio slept 5 when our little girls were little, so we could get in. So, because once you have more children, you need more space.
Yep.
But my little frugalness came in, because I really only wanted to stay in studios because our families wanted to go down more often. So not all of the studios sleep 4. So where do you want your home resort to be? It may not be a sleep accommodation issue. It could be a location. It could be a vibe, but those are the difference. So if you know that you want your home resort to be Beach Club because you like that location, look at all of those aspects of Beach Club. The deed is not going to be 50 years anymore, but it's so important to look at your home resort because of the 11-month booking window to 7-month booking window. So if you want to stay at Beach Club at Christmas time, that's not your home resort. It's going to be very hard pressed to get in. I always have a hard time getting into Beach Club. It just doesn't, it hardly works out for us. So this summer, we had not experienced Stormalong Bay. So I just worked a few extra hours this summer and I bought a night at yacht club so we could experience the beach.
I love that. So you
So,
talked a little bit about home, not just home resort stuff, but how those home resorts affect points. So, and I feel like we've talked a little bit about in general over time how you get the most out of your points. So, what is your kind of go to if you have one, or of how you get the most out of your points, or the different ways that you choose when you plan your trips to get the most out of your points each year?
well, we like to resort hop. So, and we try not to do more than one overlapping weekend because Sunday through Thursday are going to be your cheapest amount of points. Friday and Saturday are going to be the most expensive, no matter what size accommodation. That's just the way it is. Sunday through Thursday, cheaper. Friday and Saturday tend to be the equal amount of points. Whatever's Friday usually is Saturday. So we try to overlap one weekend. And then depending on our goals, like I will look at the resorts. So the newer resorts are going to be the most amount of points, as opposed to you go back to Old Key West, it's going to be the least amount of points. So where do we really need to stay? What do we really want to do? If we want to be at this resort, we know this is going to be more points. So can we give a little by staying at somewhere where it's least amount of points on these days by going Sunday through Tuesday or whatnot? So that's kind of how I try to work it as far as bargaining. Where do we need to stay? Do we really need to be at this resort? If we really want to be here, like, let's just do some more resort hopping so we can get more of an experience and more time, because I would love to stay at Riviera for a whole week in a 1-bedroom, but
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot of points. So what can we do? Let's experience some other things, and then we'll get a little love at Riviera without having to use so many points. And we probably won't be at Riviera on Friday and Saturday. We'll make sure we're there during the week.
So so it sounds like definitely looking at where you want to stay, location, the accommodations, the time during the week, but then also the time of year, because the point charts change that way too, right? So it's almost kind of like they change horizontally and vertically, like for the seasons plus throughout the week.
Yes.
And then the accommodations on top of it.
Exactly. And you have your spring breaks and you have your high peak season. And again, the points will never change. They just shift. So you have spring breaks that are in March, then some years they're in April. So you'll notice from 2021 to 2022, the shift from spring break that was in the beginning of March, or 2020 spring break was March, even though nobody was going at that time, to 2021, we moved towards later. And now next year we're more mid-April. Last year it was like the first or second week of April. This time it's second and third week of April. So those points are still going to be the same for those high season weeks. It just shifted.
So that's why there's yearly point charts.
Exactly.
Aha. That makes more sense. Because I was like, Thanksgiving's always Thanksgiving and Christmas is always at Christmas. But that makes sense when those things would shift. And I would assume something that you and I are going to talk about in another episode is Run Disney. So I would assume that Run Disney probably plays a part in that too, right?
Possibly. When I looked at the points, they don't look nowhere near like they do for March, April, December, and the week of Thanksgiving. To me, those are still the highest running seasons. And usually it's the spring break, not for Floridians, but usually for your out of town tourists that are coming in for their spring breaks. Those are your two highest weeks.
So look at the point charts. Make sure you look at the point charts.
You want to make most out of it, study it for sure. But also know your dues go up every year. That's another thing people need to know, is that the dues do not stay the same. They do not cap. And that's a hard one for people to either, they're not told. I feel like some people that I've talked to were not told that the dues just keep on going up. So that's something that's really important to factor financially each year when you pay your dues.
And what are the dues for?
Your maintenance of your resorts. So they're paying for it's to pay for your upkeep and all the maintenance.
And those you can do like a payment plan, or you can pay for the year, right?
You can pay for the year. At the end of your year, you'll have it in your account and it'll tell you, would you like to set up auto pay or would you like to just pay outright for the year?
Perfect.
So
I haven't paid my first ones yet because the contract that I got, they were paid up for the year, which is actually a good last piece before we jump into a couple of the kind of like the even funner things of TVC. But give everyone kind of a quick explanation of direct versus resale, because that's something I think people will look into a lot as well if they're thinking about purchasing Disney Vacation Club.
Okay, so Direct is basically with Disney Vacation Club agent who is you are going to either buy cash sale or finance with Disney Vacation Club with all the benefits. Resale is someone who has owned a DVC before, decided they do not want to be members and want to sell the points that they had. So they sell it back to a company, it's another party, and then you purchase those points. The only difference, it seems like it helps a little bit more financially for those who are looking into DVC by buying resale.
Mm-hmm.
The only caveat going into it that people need to know when they buy resale is the benefits are not included, which would be Moonlight Magic, annual passes, discount, your 10% off or your 20%. And basically any benefits that come with the blue card are not included in a resale. But again, weighing your options, what's important, if that matters to you or not. And even if you buy resale outright, doesn't mean you can't buy direct later and add just a little bit more points on just to get that blue card and those benefits.
Yep.
So, but direct DVC is all inclusive.
And that's what I did. So I have been tossing back and forth between, do I want to go direct and be at the Riviera? Do I want to go resale? And I was like, you know what? Let me go resale first and see kind of how it goes. It's just me, like making sure this is still a big investment just for one person. So I went resale and I got Bay Lake Tower because to your point, I really wanted to be next to Magic Kingdom, be able to walk outside. I have California Grill, which is one of my favorite restaurants. Chef Mickey's is there. I've heard great things about Steakhouse 71. So I was like, okay, let me start with resale. And it was incredibly, probably a little bit too easy to be able to do the financing. And I went through DVC resale market. They were fantastic. I cannot say enough nice things about them. But that's, I think, a really important thing for people to know is that you do have two options. And another piece that's come up recently is that they do have some restrictions on where you can stay if you buy resale. And also if with some of the new places like Riviera, if you sell, where those points can be used. So Disney's definitely starting to figure out like, okay, how does this resale market actually affect DVC? And we'll probably talk about that way down the road with lots more DVC episodes to come. But there's so much to it of, like you were saying, picking which route makes the most sense and finding what's the best deal for you. Like I found that I was able to get a 100-point contract at like a fairly good price that I was like, okay, this can be kind of like my gateway drug into the DVC world because I am sure, just knowing myself, this will not be my only contract. I already can feel it. And my wallet is already telling me not to do it. But another conversation for another day. But yeah, I think that's really important to just know what resale is, what it includes and what it doesn't, and what the blue card covers and what it doesn't. Which leads me to my next question of what is your favorite, or do you feel like the best benefit that you get from being a DVC member, whether it's the blue card or the white card?
Probably some of them are equal to the annual pass benefits. So if you're an annual pass holder, you really have a lot of the similar benefits of Disney Vacation Club, but the opportunities which really haven't come back yet are Moonlight Magic. That I've only experienced one Moonlight Magic, and that was a lot of fun. But they do that a few times throughout the year at different parks, the water parks, the theme parks. So as far as my favorite one, I don't think I have a favorite benefit of it because they do overlap with annual pass holders. So really I love the perk of the Moonlight Magic. And also another option, if you are both, is that you have another avenue for previews.
Oh, that's a good point too. I didn't think of that.
So like Ratatouille opened up annual pass preview, they opened up DVC preview. So if we were local or whatnot, we might have optimized on both previews and being able to do it multiple times. I don't know if they're going to do that with every ride, but that's kind of a nice little benefit.
Yeah. So, and what Kristen means by previews is they actually give you kind of like sneak peeks and actually allow you to go in and check out the ride it early and kind of experience it. So they really want to make sure that DVC members, annual pass holders, cast members really get a good view of what these kind of like fun new attractions are going to be. So one, you can help hype it up because everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, I got a preview for X. And they're going to tell you how great it was. But then you can also, again, have that a little bit of like a special feeling that you're part of it and you got to do some special things because you're a member.
Absolutely. Vera Bradley is a nice DVC perk. You get free embroidery there. I have kind of enjoyed that one.
Really? I didn't know that. That's an
Which is
interesting
nice.
one.
Yes. And when Topolino's first opened at the Riviera in 2019, they did not have annual pass set up. So if you were a DVC member, you were able to get 10% off of your dining. So that was kind of nice. 10% is 10%, so
Yeah.
that was helpful. We
Especially
enjoyed
when
that.
you're with a group.
So there's little, nuances, but if you look on the DVC website and you see member perks, there are tons and tons. If you just take the time to scroll down, there's so many perks on there.
Yeah. And for both DVC and AP, they will very clearly tell you too that the perks and benefits can change at any time. So that's something to think about too, is not to choose a membership any way, shape, or form just based on the benefits. Because like you said, Moonlight Magic, which is something that I think a lot of DVC members have talked about, haven't been able to experience that. So if you bought just for being able to go to those special after hours events or anything like that, that hasn't been available for at least 2 years now at this point. So
Right.
really making sure that, like you said, it's part of the lifestyle, something you still want to do and go to and experience regardless of those extra perks or benefits, because they can change at any time.
And they have changed their annual pass situation now. Disney Vacation Club's annual pass is now like what is considered the gold pass. I'm not sure what that's called with the new pass names, but like we could have done the gold pass, but we did or what DVC's equivalent new gold pass is. I'll have to go back and look it up.
Is a sorcerer pass maybe?
Is that the sorcerer one? Okay. So when I just renewed, I was the first one to renew. Our family's passes are staggered throughout the year because we're a family of 5.
That must be fun.
Yeah. So mine just renewed. I just did mine with the Incredipass because we as a family cannot do Gold Pass because we optimize those holiday times when the kids are off from school or Easter. So we need those times a year. But so that's not even really a perk as far as the Blue Card, as far as getting an annual pass discount, because if you're a Florida resident, you can get the same one. But if you're out of state, I would think that if you're in a school system, you're going to need that time off from school to use to travel to Disney. So I think that can be a little bit tricky. So the way Disney went into the annual pass system.
Yeah. So like you're saying with DVC, whether it's DVC or AP, do your research and really look into all of those things that can really influence your
right. And ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions, talk to people. People are, oh my gosh, wealth of knowledge. People love to share. Knowledge is power. Learn, find out, interview, journal, whatever you need to do. Yeah. Empower yourself with as much of the information as you can.
Yeah. And there are people that have been DVC members for a long time. I've recently just gotten into some of the Facebook groups, which can be a lot, but I mean, people have spreadsheets and people have like some serious templates and tools that you can use. I'm like, I'm just going to go check this group first before I ask any questions, because somebody else probably already asked it and somebody probably has a spreadsheet for me to check. But yeah, a lot of people have put a lot of time into really making sure that it works for them. So like Kristen said, ask your questions. There's a lot of answers out there.
Yes, there are. And a lot of people will be happy to share. They love to share the work they do to find the research. So
yeah,
thank goodness for those people.
Now, do you have a favorite place or favorite trip that you've done so far with DVC? Because I know you've said you've done Disney World a bunch, you've done Hilton Head a bunch.
Favorite place with Disney Vacation Club? Ooh, oh gosh, I don't know if we have a favorite, because we've done Disney Cruise Line with vacation points. We've done Disneyland. Well, we've done Disneyland. That wasn't Vacation Club. We almost did it with Vacation Club points, but the year hit that we know did not happen. So we did not use our Vacation Club points there. But I don't know. I love Hilton Head Island. I just feel like that one is not taken advantage of as much as it could be, even though it's always hard to get in. It's been harder to get in as I've ever seen in this past year. Every time I call or look up the points, it's always booked. But Hilton Head Island is such a quaint little gem that is lovely. We have loved all of our beach trips to Hilton Head Island. So I don't know if I have a favorite, because favorites are hard for me. They're very hard for me because I'm so happy in any moment. It's so hard for me. I can say my favorite resort is Riviera. I can hands down definitely say that, but it's so hard for me to narrow things down. But 2 favorites, because they've just all provided such elements of growth and experience that has just added such a, I don't know, blessed moment in my life that it's so hard to narrow it down.
I love
So
it. But that's, I think, what's so important is that it doesn't have to just be at Disney World, right? Like there are all
yeah.
these other places that you can have these fantastic experiences. You can go to Aulani, you can go to Disney World, Disneyland. Like there's so many other places that you can go and use your DVC points.
Yes.
Or like you said, even using the RCI and convert, your points there and go somewhere that's not even Disney at all if you really want to. There's lots of options there. Now, I know you said you don't love favorites, but we are going to get to a quick section of favorites in a minute. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about your Instagram account, Tripping to Disney, as well, because that's how I found you. And I will never forget the first time I ran into you, literally, was at a Run Disney event. And I was like, oh my gosh, I follow her on Instagram. And I was like, I can't go up and say hi. I was like, I am just like, I get so nervous. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. And then I messaged you afterwards and I was like, I just want to say hi. And you're like, oh my gosh, please come say hi to me. Come talk to me. Talk to us about your Instagram account. How did it get started? What do you love about this account? Like I said, I feel like you share so much love and happiness and positivity on it. It's one of my favorite accounts to follow. So talk to us all about this account.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That is so kind. So in 2019, no, 2018, I can't remember. A few years ago, I just decided one day I wanted to start an area that I could call my own and I could call a place where I could share all of my love for Disney. Because I think we all have those people. Well, there's probably a lot of us that have those people in their life that kind of question, like, why Disney again? They just kind of want to know, like, what is it that they just don't see what you see, or they look at things differently, which is fine. So I think I just wanted a place where I could have all that, catalog all that, scrapbook it all, share the love of it, share that there's more than one way to do it. More than one way to travel and experience. There's so many elements. And if my experiences can help someone have one moment that changed their experience or added to their experience just from one little element, I feel like that's awesome. So that was really kind of how I started it. And then I just opened it up, and it was great because I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole world. This is so lovely. Oh, look at all these people that love it too. Oh my gosh. It's like I don't know. It was very eye-opening and so heartwarming. So I have gotten so much out of this account. I have gained some beautiful relationships that have really brought my heart to the surface as far as emotions, which I'm honestly a very emotional person. I'm very high energy when it comes to people. I love people.
Same.
I just think people have so much to offer in the world, and you can learn so much from people, and people want to talk, and people have a story, and everybody has something that they can teach you. So I have definitely made some lovely friends, met some wonderful people. I got to meet you. That has been such a gift. And then just sharing and learning more from other people and sharing accounts like, hey, they're in Disney. Hey, they're in Disney. There's more than one way. Check out their trip. Check out how much fun they're having. See what they're doing. And I think we can all learn from each other because, again, it's so overwhelming to go to Disney. And a lot of people right away, they see Disney and they see money, dollar signs. And true enough, hands down, Disney is expensive. There is very much truth to that. But how can you do it to where you're winning at Disney? And I love that. That's how I wanted to get my account across.
And I think you have absolutely nailed that. Like you said, you are always sharing on your story who you like to follow, who's there, who's fun to follow. You've shared everything from your trips to Run Disney. Like you've shared kind of your full spectrum, I feel like, of Disney life. And that's what also makes it feel really genuine and authentic. And that was the biggest thing for me in talking to people that I wanted to bring on the podcast, because exactly like you said, everybody does Disney differently. Everybody has different stories. But I wanted to bring people on to share their stories, and actually like people that are really genuine and really do love Disney and love to share and meet new people. Because like you said, if you never take the chance and branch out and like say hello or message someone or go talk to them at the park, you're going to miss out on some really awesome people to talk to. Like I remember we finally met up in, was it February of this year?
Right. Not not a princess weekend. It was
Oh,
my friend Sarah
yes.
and I, we were there, and it was not a real run. I forgot what we called it, but we treated it like a Run Disney weekend, but we ran through the parks is how we treated our races. We
Yeah.
just did all 4 parks, and it was just so much fun. But we finished that night in Magic Kingdom with you by the carousel in Fantasyland.
Yeah. And you were like, do you want to come sit with us on the hub? And I was like, you know what? I do. Yeah, let's go hang out. I was like, this is so great because I was there by myself and I was like, it's just so nice to meet other people that really love the same things that you love, whether it's Disney or Run Disney or going to the parks and just sitting in the hub grass and just like taking in the atmosphere. So that's something that I'm really thankful, one, that you wanted to come on the podcast and chat, but just like how much you shared with me about, like I said, Run Disney, DVC, you've been training for Dopey coming up, which is so exciting. And I can't wait for us to do an episode about Run Disney because you have so much to share there too. And that's something that's just really special when you find someone who wants to share their information, like you said, sharing knowledge with people and actually helping them to build their own memories, because that's what people I think sometimes forget, is that it's not just going to Disney again. It's not just doing another Run Disney race. You plan to go make more memories and have a great trip, whether it's with your friends, by yourself, with your girls, you're going to make more memories. And the more people share that, I think the more special it becomes, because then everybody gets to kind of be a part of it too. So thank you for all you share in your account. It just is one of those things that's so incredibly happy. And for anyone that doesn't follow Kristen yet, we'll make sure to drop her Instagram into the show notes. You can make sure to follow her because it is truly like a just light of Disney positivity in your feed. You're gonna love it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So much.
Yeah.
Such a joy getting to talk to you and meet with you.
Absolutely. So let's wrap up with my 2 favorite parts of the episode, a speed round of favorites, which I know favorites aren't your favorite, but it'll be fast. So you can just rip the Band-Aid off. And then we'll do it. And then we'll wrap up with your favorite magic moment.
Ooh,
ready?
Ooh. Okay.
What is your favorite? And we'll do this like DVC edition. So what is your favorite DVC resort?
Riviera.
Ugh.
Hands down.
Anyone that hasn't been to Riviera yet, even if you're not a DVC member, you haven't been, go take the Skyliner, walk around. The resort is incredible. And eat at Topolino's.
Eat at Topolino's. Feel like you're in Paris with the Aristocats. Sing those songs in French that are all in Disney. It's just great.
I love it. All right. How about your favorite non-DVC resort?
I would say for non-Disney, honestly, French Quarter and Pop Century are a tie.
Okay. Love it. How about your favorite restaurant on property?
Oh, I love to eat. So are we talking quick service or sit down?
Let's do one of each.
Oh gosh. Okay. Quick service. We're going to go with Casey's. Casey's is one of my favorites. Love me some cheese fries and a good old hot dog, because man, their hot dogs are good.
And it's back. So you must be so excited that it's reopened.
Oh, it was such a great feeling having one of their hot dogs again. So yeah. Casey's probably one of my tops.
Perfect. All right. How about your favorite park?
Epcot. Easy. Hands down. Epcot.
Love it.
All about people.
All right. How about your favorite ride at each park?
Ride at each park. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. Can I say Magic Kingdom? There's like 3. Big Thunder Mountain.
There are no rules on this podcast. So you can really do whatever you want.
Big Thunder Mountain, because it's the coaster that goes on and on and on, and I love it. Just when you think it's over, there's still more. People Mover, because it's just the People Mover is just so lovely, and I just love those Grim Grinning Ghosts. The Haunted Mansion is just special.
Amazing. All right, how about your favorite merch or collectible item? Now, this could be either something that you have that's been like your favorite thing you've ever got, or something maybe that you collect and you go collect every time when you go.
Anything really. I don't even have a specific favorite. I did get my first new Loungefly, but I do love to find a unique mug, but I don't get a mug every single time, but I just did get this one.
Oh my gosh, how pretty.
It's off the cruise ship, so I have been in love with this one. So honestly, just kind of whatever hits me, whether it's a magnet or just whatever just kind of moves me, because I just feel blessed to be able to bring things home. So I have really a gamut of things.
I also can't believe that was your first Loungefly bag. I have a Loungefly problem, but yours is, you got the Riviera one, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It's so pretty. It's like blue and pink, and It's like a
It's
light pink. So it's just like, looks so
It's
happy.
Minnie, it's Dapper Minnie, Dapper Mickey, Dapper Donald. It's just precious. And I think for Loungeflies, we can definitely go into the Loungefly discussion sometime, but there's so many. How do you choose?
Yes.
And it just kept taking me so long to choose. And
And then every time you pick one or you think you made a decision, another one comes out and it's just as cute or cuter. So then you've got to start all over again.
yes. So, but yes, I do love how comfortable they are. They're very comfortable little backpacks. So
Yes,
precious.
absolutely. How about your favorite non-park activity?
Non-park activity. Ooh, that is usually just kind of lounging around at the resort. I love to just sit on the balcony at the resort. And if I'm not at a resort that has a balcony, I will meander to a resort where I can just sit and chill somewhere on their property.
I love it.
Even if it's Disney Springs, I just love going down the escalator and hearing that music. I play that loop on YouTube all the time in my house. I just feel, just taking it all in.
The loops on YouTube of music, I always will do like the WDW Today, like the resort TV. I have that looped all the time. It is fantastic.
So
a nice little
immersive.
way to feel like you're there.
Yeah.
Now, the last favorite that I feel like I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway, so I'd love for you to expand, is your favorite Disney snack.
Okay. My favorite Disney snack is the Mickey Cake Pop.
Yes. I knew it. I knew it. Now, tell everybody why you love the Cake Pops so much. Because like I feel like now I associate Cake Pops on Main Street with you.
I know. It's so, I don't know why it was such a hit. I don't know. Like it just wasn't something that was elevated. It's usually the pretzels or a Mickey ice cream or a Mickey sandwich. That's usually kind of like the iconic favorites. I have always loved the Cake Pops. And they're made a little bit differently right now, which are delicious. I do kind of hope they go back to what they were before, but I'll take it. It was just such a joy when they actually brought them back, because I feel like I've been crying about that for about a year. So the cake pop, the center of the Mickey Cake Pops are a fudge, but not a thick fudge, but a flavor and a texture like no other. It is a perfect amount of chocolate, balanced sweet and salt, but not too salty, but enough to cut the edge off. And it is just so darn good. It's
now,
just so darn good.
If everyone listening is like, oh my gosh, I've never had a Disney Cake Pop, where are the best places for them to go get one? Like Kristen approved Disney Cake Pop.
So right now, when Disney reopened, the only place you could get it was Gasparilla Grill in Grand Floridian Quick Service Cafe, but they were ginormous. They're like huge, shareable. I actually made a reel on it because it was just so amazing. I really didn't want to share it. I think I pretty much did the whole thing. I think Mike had maybe a bite because it was so amazing. So, but now they're back at the Main Street Confectionery. At first you had to ask for them. They were selling out first thing in the morning, but now like the last few times I have gone, they're still in the cases. They have a Snickers one and an M&M one, which they crust over the coating of it with marshmallow ears. So it is
on my list.
On your list. And so, but if I will have to say, if they ever come back with the ones that they did prior, they were the sticks sat in sort of the round Mickey shape and the ears were made with chocolate discs prior, but they had different versions where it was wrapped like it Christmas time. They had a Mickey Santa Cake Pop. Well, the Santa belt was made with a sour belt straw. And it was epic. And then they would make the Beauty and the Beast the rose. So the chocolate was in the center and it was wrapped in a sour belt. And it was just the variations of the Mickey Cake Pops were just so, I think my profile picture, actually, yeah, my profile picture right now has me eating two of them at the same time.
So good.
Prior to the pandemic. So it was so good. I was double fisting. It was my birthday and I got two and I was just eating them at the same time. It was just so good.
It's your birthday. You do what you want, especially in Disney.
Amen, sister.
And so my next trip is actually, we're going on my birthday. So I will be getting myself a cake pop when we go.
This coming December?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear about your birthday treat. This is great.
It's going to be so good. I'm so excited.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's not coming soon enough. All right. So our last piece of the podcast, what is your favorite magic moment from Walt Disney World? Doesn't have to be DVC specific. Could be any magic moment from your years of Disney love.
Oh my gosh. I think something that tickled my heart so much when I was there, this is so small and so simple. So we can always, I'll do my homework and I can maybe answer this on another Run Disney one. but this one is in my forefront. I remember we were watching a cavalcade and someone from custodial was out there. You know how they do the paintings with
Mhm.
water, they do all that. Well, he was out there and he took his broom and he was singing and dancing and he was in his world. His eyes were closed and he was right into it and just guitar playing with his broom,
Yes.
so into it. And I'm like, what employee can you see feeling that glorious in that moment? Like my kids and I remember this. We just watched him. It was like in May when we went and watched him. I was just so enamored. I think I might have even taken a video. I was so enamored by his happiness. Like that made me tearful
Oh,
watching him. So it wasn't anything specific because I do have a lot of things that have happened to me that were magical, or Disney, upgrading and all that kind of stuff. But just watching those moments right there, just allowing people to just be so youthful, like that was wonderful.
and we had just talked about this in a recent episode as well, but I feel like everyone you talk to that's a cast member loves what they do. They are so happy to be there. And whether they're literally sweeping things up on Main Street or they're letting you onto a ride or they are in the parade walking down Main Street, everybody is truly so happy to be there and be a part of the magic that is special, right? Like seeing them make a beautiful Mickey Mouse out of water in the middle of the street is, to me, will always be so cool.
So amazing.
It will be like I am 5 years old seeing it for the first time. It is so cool. So I think that's always special, right? And I think that's the way to look at Disney World or Disneyland or any of the Disney parks too, is that everything can be really magical. It doesn't have to be this big grand gesture. It can be something as simple as seeing someone else in the moment so happy and just loving life, right? Like loving life at the moment.
And to perspective, it's all in how you look
Yes.
at it. I cannot agree with you more. And I think that's my whole point with my Instagram. You can choose to look for the good, you can choose to look for the bad, you can choose to make your experience in however glass that you want to live, whatever your glasses want to be. How do you
Yeah.
want to see it? And if you just keep your eyes peeled, it'll be so amazing how your heart is touched by what you see. Just look around and it's just can be so magic. Something super small can totally shift your day, or even a moment where your kids are hot and they're tired or something, because we're human. At the end of the day, we're human and we still
Yeah.
go through the motions of being human, waking up and till you go to bed at night and going through all of your day. But that one little moment can completely shift and change and just set you in another direction because you saw something that was just so lovely.
Absolutely. And that actually ties perfectly to, I do want to put you on the spot for a second because you did something really incredible at one of your last trips with a couple of your friends where you actually gave and created some magic for other people. So I'd love for you to tell the story of where that idea came from, what you all did, and kind of what your experience was being someone who took the initiative to proactively go out there and make magic for other guests, as someone especially who's not a cast member. You were just a guest at the park that day.
So on Sunday, it was Sunday, October 16th, and a few of my girlfriends that I was traveling with that weekend, Sarah, and her Instagram is Sarah B, and Mallory, and her Instagram is Mal Your Pal, those two girls. And the idea from the balloons came from watching Mallory and her husband, Tim, and he is Tim Elrod on Instagram. They are such a magical family. If you don't follow them, please do. Those three people that I just mentioned, they're just such lovely folks. But Mallory and Tim had done that back in the spring, and it was just so inspiring to see that element of love and magic be shared through with guests throughout the park. They had done that back in April, I believe it was, where they had given out balloons, and I loved it. I had never gone to anything to that magnitude. My forms of giving magic were like buying a cast member an ice cream sandwich, or another employee, we got them Gideons, or just we've done little trinkets here and there off the side. And I loved what they did, and it just was so wonderful. And so when we were meeting up, I was like, I would love to participate in something like that again. Like if they were interested, I would love to do that. And again, she shared how magical that was. So we joined forces and said, let's do this. And it was so great. So we went and got some balloons and handed them out. And it was so fun. It was so fun.
I bet. So Kristen actually posted a reel on her story or on her Instagram of they all went through and bought these balloons and just did you just hand them out to like any random guests that you saw?
Yes. Yes, basically. So what we did, so in the reel, what you'll see, what was really special, what in the reel that you'll see was, so there were 3 gift cards that went out and 25 balloons. And
Amazing.
the gift cards just went randomly to, we just kind of watched cast members through the park as we were strolling through. We were just looking for that cast member that was just doing, it just would, we each picked a cast member is how we did it. We had the 3 gift cards and we each picked a cast member. And I picked someone in Custoli who was constantly adjusting strollers and helping people. And you can see some of the families are like frustrated, they're hot, their kids are, and she just had such a sweet smile on her face. So I went to her. And then the next one was in the bathroom. We did that one. That's not on the reel. And she got emotional. Like she was like, is this for real? Is this really happening? It was very precious. But the last one, oh my gosh. So we got the balloons. We went off into the hub, past the hub right in the center there by Magic Kingdom Castle. And we just started handing out balloons, and it was a little windy. So like they were getting entangled and such. So a cast member came running to us and she's like, oh my gosh, you guys are being magic makers. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. And she's like, I love you guys. I love when I get to see people make magic. So I said, can you just do me a favor? Can you just take my phone and just record and just document some of this? Because it's beautiful. And I want to see these faces from a different angle.
Yeah.
So she did. And I said, whatever time you have, I'm sure you're busy. Like you have 30 seconds, a minute, whenever you need to stop it, just whatever.
Yeah.
And she kept my phone for like about 7 minutes. And so some of the balloons had popped in the meantime while we were trying to distribute them. So as she's recording us, some of the balloons that popped, she's like, I'll take care of them. So she went back. She's like, I'll replace it. It was like 3 balloons. So she goes and she comes back with 5 more. And she's helping us. And we just all kind of knew she was the last cast member for the gift card because she helped. She just kept talking about how I love magic makers and she had such a hard day that day and she likes to make magic. And she had no idea that we were about like, she was our last one. And so watching that kind of flip into us handing it to her was so special. That was just such a moment because she's like, I was just having such a hard day. And I was just telling my mom, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to work today. Cause and she'd said she'd already got yelled at that morning. And that makes me sad because I get it. People, they express their frustrations when they want things a certain way or whatnot. We don't know the story of what happened that morning, but anyway, I'm sure it's not easy all the time to be a cast member. So she definitely felt the love on that. And it was great.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I am really happy that you were willing to share that story because for everyone that doesn't follow Kristen yet, that is like you in a nutshell. Like someone who truly goes out of their way to make other people happy, share the positive moments, and just say like it can be as small as giving someone a balloon or saying thank you or having someone be a part of something really special like that. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing all of your DVC tips and tricks and things like that. But in general, just thank you for being such a positive light out there on Instagram and being a great Disney friend. I'm incredibly happy and grateful that I've met you because I know I've learned a lot and you just brought so much light and happiness into my life. So super thankful for you.
Oh my gosh. Thankful for you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful for you.
Thanks for hanging out today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our episode with Kristen talking all about DVC. Make sure you follow, subscribe, keep your eyes out on all of your favorite streaming platforms. We have new episodes dropping every Monday, so stick around. It's going to be great.